Okay, so we should be good to go. Okay.
Prayer and thought still.
Yeah, I guess we started it before we prayed, but that was.
This is bad. I'm going to reboot my computer, so I'll be back on, guys.
Okay. I also know, like, if you adjust, like, your bandwidth, sometimes that helps. Like, if you make it, like, low, it'll be better.
And won't it help if we all
I'll look at that as well. Give me a few minutes, and I'll be back on. Sorry for the...
No, you're fine.
Save all this stuff.
I put mine to medium.
I did the same.
I put mine at low.
You're on low? I'm gonna change mine to low. There we go. Oh, actually, makes my screen a little bit smaller too. That's cool. It like zooms in when I do that.
I can barely see you.
Me?
Yeah.
Am I blurry?
Yeah. But I mean, I don't know if we have to be in, like, the best quality.
If we all just go to audio too, I mean, that wouldn't hurt anything, would it?
No.
Okay. Well, should we just start with a prayer?
Yeah. Who
I
would
can say
like
that
to
if you'd
pray?
like.
Awesome.
Our Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for this day. We're grateful for this opportunity we have to meet with a group, and we're thankful for Brad for being able to join us. We're grateful for this time we have to reflect on the decisions and our evaluations that we've made. We ask that you may have the Spirit to be here with us, that as we share with one another, that we be able to better understand the things that we've read. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Does anyone have a thought they want to share?
Nothing that jumped out at me that for thought. This round.
Can you guys all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, Levi? Yeah, you're on there twice.
I know, because I had to get on my computer because I can't hear you guys and obviously you can't hear me.
Okay.
So I'm going to hop off on here. So sorry, I'm just going to be a bouncing face or whatever the thing is.
You're all
All
good.
right. All right.
It's like everyone's having internet problems.
Well, I just rebooted because I couldn't see anyone, so I was just looking at a blank screen.
I think everyone is like having these internet issues because I think Brad's frozen now too.
Oh my gosh.
It's Google.
Yeah, it's just not our night.
I'm going to try and restart my iPad here. But yeah, it's like I could see you all and everything. It's not, yeah, couldn't hear anything. Everything else works fine.
Well, I can hear everyone. I just can't see anyone.
We can all see you. Should make you feel super comfortable right there.
Well, I can see myself too, but that's about it.
Everyone else is bobbing heads. Pulsing heads. There we go. That's what it is. Pulsing heads.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
What did you do to fix it?
Well, things seemed to go really bad for me after I lowered my bandwidth. So I put it back up and then I closed out of that window and relaunched it with the link.
Okay. I'm going to try and restart my iPad here and see if that works. It's funky.
I can see Connor again.
Beautiful profile there.
Yeah, I think Connor's frozen now too.
Oh, there he goes. He moved face forward now.
Oh, yep.
Did you hear what I said before, Kelly? I like your pineapple.
Oh, thanks. It's
Yeah,
something.
Hey, Connor, if you can hear me, I'd suggest turning your bandwidth back up. And you may also have to restart your browser window. Say something, Connor. I see your lips moving, but I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
So you might have to restart the browser window. Google doesn't like it when you change your bandwidth.
All right, let's see if I can get on here. So, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Can
That's
you hear
really
me now?
creepy looking at my face on a 32-inch screen right in front of me. All right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, I just went to my phone and my phone is on data, so and it's faster than my Wi-Fi, so
Steve's back.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. Sorry, guys.
No.
Oh,
no
no,
worries.
everyone's having
I was like,
issues.
everyone.
okay, we're all here. We've already said our prayer. We've already used
Yay!
10 minutes.
Yep.
All right, so we'll just go ahead and start. So I can read the little thing, question 3. So it says, so far in this course, we have seen a few common threads and takeaways. Founders matter. Experience, passion, and vision shape the business and can make the difference between success and failure. Business plan at the founding stage of the company is a collection of hypotheses. In other words, guesses. Startups create value by systematically testing hypotheses and making changes to the plan when the test results indicate a need to change. And early tests tell us a lot about the viability of a business and where more information is needed. Previous cases analysis. Oh my goodness, today's not my day. Okay, previous cases analyzed business models the founders had already chosen. Now we get to see a company at the moment of choice. And then for vote, which business model opinion do you favor?
Everyone
Who
for
who liked the traditional strategy?
I picked that.
that's 1.
Two.
Hey, 2. That's 2.
All right.
Razor and blade.
I chose that one. I thought they could increase the market.
Which one did you choose? Sorry.
The razor blades.
Yeah.
So that's 2. Okay.
And then data.
Data.
Oh, you did 2. So 2, 2, and 2.
Yes. Yes, can we finally debate this time? Last time that we were all unanimous, right? Or was that just
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
each person who voted?
Give
Why?
each person who voted a chance to share why they voted the way they did. If a choice is left without someone voting for it, discuss it as a group the pros and cons of that choice. And then specifically for each alternative, discuss the following. Number of potential customers, which customers would be expected to pay for the product, who the competitors are and their likely response, the founder's goals, and the investor's goals. So do we want to just start with traditional strategy and the people who voted for that say why?
Sure. And I'm hoping that I did my analysis right, but in looking at the financing implications, it was simple. It just seemed on the traditional side, you'd be able to start making positive cash flow quicker and pay back that initial investment quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I based my assumption on. And I figured if I'm here to help the investor make money, that would be the quickest way in my book. That's why I went with that way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought about too, because I looked at the charts and they made profit faster, which means if they wanted to invest later, they could. So I decided to be a safer option instead of just investing everything at once and then waiting for the return later on.
That makes sense. Okay, razor and razor blades. That's one I went with. The reason I did that is I thought they could attract like a larger market for the most part. I thought a lot more people would be willing to try it. And that since a lot more people are trying it, the data would be more beneficial for other people in looking into research and things like that. So they'd be willing to pay for that. And then I also figured, like, in the long run, I know I didn't say this, but in the long run, I felt like they could eventually start raising prices. And since so many people would probably be using it by then, like, they would be able to make money back.
Okay, I also said that one, and the reason is because like I related everything to how like different companies do their things. So like the Nintendo Wii, they sell their console machines and option 2 for a cheaper price, but all their games are just as much as expensive as other companies. People are like preferred, like when the Wii came out, like the first Wii, not the Wii U. People were returning their Xboxes and returning their PS3s and buying the Wii because it was cheaper, and they thought they could use that money for more games, and their options were bigger. And so, like, I saw, like, yeah, that cheaper console was a lot more, and just like a cheaper, people would buy it, and then they would stick with that machine, even if they pay a little bit more for games.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, data guys?
Who wants to go for? Who is it? Go ahead.
What was the question again? Lightning just struck my house. Not struck my house, but all the power just kind of went.
Oh.
I don't have anything to read anymore. I'm on this and that's it. Everything else is shut down.
Oh man.
The question is just like why you voted the way you did. So if you voted for the data analysis, that one, then why?
So I voted for that one, obviously.
Yeah.
So the traditional I didn't really like because it creates too much of a competitive market between them and as newbies and the other people that are more well established. The razor and the razor blade thing, I think it could work pretty well, but not just by itself. So I feel like the data analysis could potentially be kind of a compromise between the razor and the razor blade and the back end they really need, because they can basically make enough money by selling machines and then selling the cartridges. They're not going to make as much, but if they're able to garner the customers by introducing their stuff to the market at that lower price, then they can get a lot of that data back, and that's where I think that's really where the value is. Because if you look at the founders too, they're not just doing it because they want to make $1 bajillion. They have a lot of goals that have to do with, basically putting this technology in the hands of a lot more people. So if they can basically, again, do that for a lot less expensive price and then accumulate data on top of that, then it serves both their purposes, which is, again, to make money and further the technology and the research, as well as archive or document the human genome, really,
What kind of
and make it highly available.
I want to ask a question to the people who chose the way they did. What kind of criteria did you base your
for the
obviously you based your criteria on like changing the way like medicine works, right? Instead of making a profit, you wanted about the whole gaining popularity in the marketplace.
I think it's not. No, I think it's balanced. So I think because they can go in as a lower cost, they can. they basically, instead of making it like only a select few people can afford it, they make it a mass market product. And that way they're able to aggregate data for that they can also disseminate for a fee or a price. And once everyone's kind of on their program, if you will, the data is a lot more valuable than just the ability to analyze a single human genome. It's the aggregation of data that's valuable.
So the way I understand, tell me if I'm understanding this wrong, because I totally could be. Instead of selling their machines to other people, they just, and people send them their samples, and they run it in their machine, then they send the results back, right?
I don't think that's the way it works. So what it is, because it's digital, and one of the first that are digital, and it only works when you're connected to the internet. And so when they process the test, they get the test results right there at the lab from the device, or they just log on and get the test results. Either way, they get the test results right away. It's kind of like you going on your Gmail account to get the test results.
Okay.
But the real benefit there is that there's not a single test that's done that the company doesn't get the results for. And that's the aggregate data that if they are the leaders in collecting that, then they project, I think it said something like $8 billion by 2014, the industry of being able to, whoever controls that information is going to be able to participate in that market. And so it's definitely not the, as Steve was saying, he chose his route because it was the fastest return on investment for the investors. And this one would be the slowest return on investment, but the highest potential return. So it's a lot more risky, but the potential gains are a lot greater in the long run. So that's partially why I'll go ahead and, I haven't answered why I chose the way I chose, so I'll go ahead and do that. That is, the main underlying reason. Whether we go with option number 1, option number 2, or option number 3, in any of those cases, because of the way this product is set up, they're going to be collecting that data. And at some point, they're going to need to decide what they want to do with that data. And hopefully, they're going to be able to sell it in some sort of way. Either they'll sell it completely to somebody else that wants to set up their business around that, or they'll set their business up around that and make recurring revenues that way. Okay, so the collecting of data is going to be an objective regardless of which model that we choose. Now, actually, what I would do is I would actually choose a combination of models, and I would do the Tesla thing. You guys familiar with the Tesla car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what they did, or what they're doing, is their first rounds they're very expensive, and so, but they were very popular because they were high performance, because, everything that Tesla is, right? Who doesn't want a Tesla? So they sold you don't?
No, I was just like,
Oh yeah, sign me up, right?
Yeah.
So it was very popular, and they made a lot of money in the beginning. But what they did, I thought, was remarkable. They took all those profits from the beginning rounds, and they invested into research and development so that they could make an affordable car for everybody. And so I recommend doing something similar with this. Take the first solution, because we have a unit here that outperforms anything on the market. And I think, reading the case, I think that they underestimate the value there. They're very, very concerned about price, and they're too willing to discount their product when they have some remarkable features. So I think that they should compete head to head in the beginning, and they're going to have some pretty significant margins there. And then they can use those margins to then change their model and give it out for free and collect that data. And that way they could afford to do it, rather than taking such a high risk. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It makes sense. My only concern would be that while they do have better features, you're asking the market to adopt a new technology. So it's not just the fact that they have you know, yeah, like I said, maybe they have better features, but it's still new and it's still harder to get people to do it, especially if it's, you know, the same or a higher price.
How much?
So I don't know. I think it's also risky.
Did we see an actual price for that? I don't remember.
That one they said that they would sell the machine for like 4,000 or 5,000, I believe.
For option 3?
Yeah, it was like they would sell it really cheap. Customers would pay 3,000 or lease one for 2,000 a year.
Yeah.
And then the test cartridges would be $50 to $100. So it's like really cheap. They're just hoping to make it back in the long run with selling the information they collect.
Yeah, that's with option 3. With the other options, though, it's of course they're asking for more. If you look, this isn't on an attachment or a exhibit, but if you on page 9, they recommend selling it for $40,000 with I think $500 to $1,000 per test cartridge.
Yeah.
And then a yearly cost of $10,000. So in looking at those costs, and you make a great point, Connor, I think that the key there would be to price it in such a way, because we have a lot of flexibility on pricing, right? Because it costs so cheap to make. I would price it in such a way where we were competitive, but we could show the consumer that based on their activity, based on the number of tests that they do, based on the research projects that they're doing, we could cut so much time in their research. We could have them, they could submit so many more tests and fulfill the orders for so many more clients that they could make their money back for investing in our product. They could make their money back in 1 year. And I don't know exactly what that number would be. I'd have to run those numbers, but that would be the idea, is selling it on, hey, buy this product. We're going to enhance your capabilities by so much that you're going to make this money in 1 year, and then you're going to be better off from then on out.
Well, actually, the reason I ask is I think I'm changing my mind right now on the spot. Because they're selling cartridges. They say that they're going to sell cartridges for a higher price, the option 2 cartridge. But this one, it's $500 to $1,000 each. And if they got in the market with that, people wouldn't really have a choice other than to pay that much. See, I guess my thing is taking on. It's not so much. It's like trying to get people to start. And once they start, business option.
Yeah, that's the whole idea between with the razor blade thing, or your inkjet printer that you have at your house.
No, I hate.
Because when you buy the printer, you have to keep buying that printer's toner.
I don't have.
Yeah, that's why. Drives me nuts. The ink costs more than the printer.
Yeah.
Well, the ink's a cartel.
I'm starting to change my mind now.
Yeah,
Right.
I was like,
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say, the more I like look at it, the more I realized that I was confused, and I like read it as one, and I didn't like separate the razor from the like the data one when I was reading it, and so I was like combining them together, and so now I'm like, no, I liked the third option, not the one where they sold the cartridges for more. I was like, I want them to sell the information.
See, the way I look at it is that there's probably not. I don't really think it's one option or the other. I think it's a good mix of all three, and I think they just need to find it. I really like Brad's idea of basically starting it out higher as a new entrance to the market. It's new technology, so they can probably get a premium for it if they can really demonstrate that they are actually going to save money in the long run. And then as it becomes more prevalent, they can kind of scale down the introductory prices, if you will, the cost of the machine. And as they build up to scale, they can also decrease the cost of the cartridges. Just as long as, for me, it's as long as they have that underlying thought or that underlying process where they are collecting the DNA of the text the whole time. You know, just like Google does. They basically collect the data, collect the usage, collect, you know, behaviors and everything, and anonymize it and aggregate it so they can see, you know, different groups and they can compare it to other people and stuff like that. That's, again, that's where I think the real value is. So they can, as long as they can make their costs and make some money up front, and then they, as they ramp up and get to scale. That's the real issue. Because
one thought I had along those lines is that if they could release, right, and boy, it's this new product, it's great, it's fast, it's less expensive, it's going to be able to go into some additional markets, and it's going to make the competition pay attention, and they're going to be scared, and they're going to invest a ton of money into research and development because they've got to come up with their own their own solution to that, right? So for the first year, you enjoy the benefits of being the new kid on the block, the best thing out there, this new great idea. Everybody else works to catch up, and as soon as they release their product, that's when you offer it for free.
Huh. So I just had a thought. When I was in high school, you know, that's when Apple really started becoming popular. Because I guess they were just trendy, but because they were expensive. They were still really expensive products. But like the iPods, like the very first generation iPod Nano have the most amount of memory. And so these guys are offering for the first time machines. Like how did it introduce it again? It said oh, I can't find nothing. Okay, I found a way to miniaturize or manufacture a new kind of DNA sequencer. This new way is cheaper to produce. If it's cheaper to produce, why don't they just make things better instead? One of the thoughts I was having the whole time too, because like, does cheaper actually mean better?
Not always.
in this case, if you look like at all the different margins of error for a lot of the different methods of DNA strands, theirs was
0.1%. Yeah.
So it was really low. So they actually found a way to better or get a lot higher accuracy than the other. And obviously they're using an electronic method to look at their, I don't really understand it, but basically they didn't have a whole bunch of chemicals and all that stuff that they had to use. So it was a lot less expensive per test to run it. So they've got both. So they, again, I think it's not just one. It's a good solid mix of all three methods, and I think the timing is important.
Yeah.
I just chose the razor and the other one because I felt like it wasn't like exactly the pricing of the razor, because I feel like if they could sell the product for this, and then why would you want to price gouge on the cartridges? I felt like it was more like, okay, charge maybe a little bit higher than bottom dollar, because you still have value in your product, in that the customer gets to use the product and they're making money off the product and everything. So don't undercut yourself and give the product away for free just because you get the data. Make it a 2-for-1 thing. You're making money off the product and the cartridges, and you're aggregating the data on the back end.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
There's no one right way to do it, is all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just say, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I just said, so someone with a computer. I don't have any screens or.
Did you say your power actually went out?
It didn't go out. Like all my screens turned off, and the lights all turned off for a second. So when that happens, I just unplug everything. I've got pictures and videos and all kinds of crap everywhere. So I just don't even want to mess with it.
So I just want to put a plug in for the data, guys. This genetic sequencing, I don't pretend to know all of the far-reaching benefits or ways of revenue, but I can tell you that whoever owns the genetic data, they're going to be the ones that come out with the new diagnosis on rare genetic diseases that we don't know about. They're the ones that are going to come out with the medication that's going to be used to treat those genetic diseases. They're the ones that are going to be able to cure cancer. Because genetic research and being able to manipulate the gene in the human body is right now considered the best chance for curing cancer. So, I mean, are we talking about a lot of money here with pharmaceuticals and genetic diseases and even the possibility of curing cancer? Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what really is so tempting for these guys, as they have this inexpensive to make product and this ability to collect data where nobody's been able to collect this type of data in this way up to this point.
Yeah.
Well, good points for sure.
I'm wondering how public is that information going to be, though? Is GenapSys just going to keep it all? And just,
No, they're going to sell it.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, because I'm rereading it again, and I was reading the wrong section before when I was saying it was 500,000 per cartridge. Maybe 50 to 100.
And the thing that's nice about it is that as they collect more data, the more data they get, the more valuable it is, and the more they can sell it for.
Yeah.
I like the fact that it's not just one-sided too, because they can, while they will technically control the data and, they can sell it to other people. So at the end of the day, I mean, again, they're making money on selling the data, but it also,
There
what
it
other
is.
case study would they do?
So how much money do they need to burn through on the data side if they went with that before they started making a profit? How long did you forecast that out?
We're talking about the Excel now, right?
Yeah, so in the models, it talks about how you're going to get your cumulative cash flow or whatever. And when you put it in, I mean, how long until you start seeing a profit? I mean, yes, you're going to get a $20 million pre-money, but how much more did you say you needed to raise to do this?
I said 70 million.
Yeah, I'm way off then. Because I had about 70 million for the razor even before it started breaking a profit back.
I'm looking at so those pages down at the bottom, the one that says financing implications.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'm looking at, you're talking about the data strategy? Yeah, my line goes all the way down to 70 million right there.
I don't show a profit on mine until 2020.
How do I switch this around? Look at this. Oops. Gosh dang it.
Oh, you know what? Let me switch my numbers back because I had it. I messed it around a little bit. What was the crap? Where'd it go?
Connor, you should be able to share your screen. Oh, did you? You
I'm
should
on
be able
my
to
phone.
share your screen. Oh, it's on your phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what mine looks like too.
I don't really trust my Wi-Fi right now, but yeah, that's why I said, because I just was like, oh, it looks like 70 million. That looks like that's how much capital you need. And so I just went over here. Oh, it looks like 12. Was I not doing that right? Because that's what I thought that question was.
Well, your traditional looked the same as mine.
I'm going back to it. I log back on.
Okay. We had to ask for this. No. We did the vote. We did the convincing each other thing. Founder goals. Talked about that. The investor goals. Oh, the investor goals. Yeah. If you were an investor, what would you want? What strategy would you want to invest in?
I don't know, like it kind of depends, because I feel like if you're an investor, like you're gonna make more money if you take the riskier route. But if they don't want to take that risk, then they're not gonna want them to just rely on eventually being able to sell the information.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
How about you,
you
Kelly?
need to weigh your customers to know what they're willing to risk. So if they're pretty conservative, you need to make sure you understand that and how you're going to get them to buy in. Oh, whose is that?
I said those numbers. So for traditional, I said they'd have 20%. Razor and razor blades, I said 21%. And data analytic strategy, I said investors would be able to still own 53%.
Yeah, see, I guess my numbers are off because I said the traditional will be able to own 86% of the company. Razor
Oh,
would
really?
be 9%, and the data analytics would be 7%.
Okay.
So Kelly, what kind of investor are you?
At this point in life, or I don't know. I would take the riskier route just because I feel like in the long run you get a lot more back. Like it's worth the risk if it pays off. I don't know. If you wanted to be super safe, then it would be nice to just like, oh, we'll sell them now and get all our money now. But I feel like in the long run you'll make a lot more if you just are a little bit riskier. Or like
So
a
the
happy medium for some people.
So the data analytics,
Yeah.
I would say so also. But we have to fish out more money.
But I feel like for what it is, I wouldn't mind spending that much, because even though it sounds expensive, like 70 million up front, kind of towards this, in the long run, you'll make your money back, because it's never like, it's not a fade, or a thing where it's like going to go out of style or something.
How many years are you projecting it'll take you to make that 70 million back?
I think it was like till 2023 or something.
So what did it start? 2014. So you're looking at 9 years.
Yeah, like 10 years.
Which the average is 10 years before they start seeing profits. So, I mean, you're not out of the. I mean, it's not far fetched. It's certainly doable, and an investor, knowing the industry they're getting into, probably wouldn't balk at it, knowing that they're going to make a 10-year minimum commitment, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of got to know going in what they're getting into, and are they willing to risk 70 million to potentially make how much more down the road?
Yeah.
The other thing to consider in this case is the moral implications. Here we have an opportunity, being the first out with this type of technology, to create such a database, where if we decide not to do it, who's to say the next guy, what are they going to do? And ultimately we may end up with 7 different companies, each with a piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And so that data never gets together, and the new cures or the new medications never come out. The understanding never happens because we wanted the quick return rather than the long-term investment.
That's true.
The free cash flow stuff is still confusing me.
Yeah, I'm working on that one myself.
Yeah.
I think the trick is just to memorize the equation.
Okay.
Anybody else want to express their opinion on what type of investor you are?
I'm Data.
Yeah, I think I'd switch to data too, just because it does have more potential. I feel like if somebody is investing in medicine, they're more likely to have that kind of money, and they understand how it progresses.
I do have one request though. Did you guys see the picture of this device next to all the others
How it was a lot smaller.
in the exhibits? It looked like a little garage door opener next to all these big,
Yeah.
expensive
Didn't this thing like the
devices.
size of an iPad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So here's what I worry about. People spending potentially, depending on the route that you go, $100,000 or more on this tiny little device. When I worked in a telecommunications company, we had it was a DSL router or a DSL modem back when DSL was really new, and it was called the Copper Rocket, and it was about I don't know 9 inches.
Genius machine.
It was about 9 inches long, yeah, about the same size, and about 5.5 inches wide. But it was actually shaped kind of like a rocket, and it was red, and it was really lightweight. And the customers complained because here they just purchased this premier service, and they got this device that felt like a toy. It's like, this is what I get. So I almost think that we need to build it just a little bit bigger, even though we don't need to. Add a little bit of weight to it, so it feels like you've got something there.
Put some rocks into it.
Yeah, something.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, think about the evolution of the I don't know if anyone has diabetes here, but like
The
my mom
insulin
has
pumps.
diabetes. She just has to prick her finger, and then this little machine, this little teeny tiny
Oh,
machine, will
yeah.
actually tell her exactly what her
Blood sugar.
blood sugar levels are. Yeah, but like this doesn't seem that much different as far as technology goes.
Yeah, I think things nowadays are getting a lot smaller.
It's kind of funny though, because if you look at the trends though too, like remember, well maybe you guys don't remember, some of you will. Remember when they had like cell phones and they went from like the Nokia candy bar phones, and then they got like a little smaller and they went with like the flip phones or like the slide up phones, and then they had one like this little like stick like this big. I think it was called a juke.
Yeah.
Just like a double digit number pad, and it was just.
Dude, I remember the juke. I always wanted a juke.
And now we want big phones.
It's interesting, yeah. So because they went from like candy bar size down to like smaller flip phones down to this like really really tiny thing, and now it's like who can get like the biggest screen on their phone.
Yeah. I think part of that too is like now that you can do the internet on your phone, you want a big phone. Because like before you didn't really like it, the internet wasn't the same. So it's like, well, I'm not really going to use my phone for that. So of course I wanted small.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I had a BlackBerry Curve, like dinky little, it's like this big.
Yeah.
Like
I just worry about this device being so small. You guys remember when the first time you saw that app that makes you think that your phone can turn into an X-ray machine?
Yeah.
And you were like, wow, that's really, wait a second. How does it, that I actually thought of that. As I was looking at this device, it's like, it's so small, are people going to buy, the fact that it's so powerful and it's such a leap in technology? Nowadays, maybe so, but back then, I think there might be a challenge there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they just have to really be careful how they sell it, and they really need to focus on the fact that they put a lot of effort and energy and done all the stuff to make it small and convenient size so they can fit in their place. Yeah, they just have to sell it right.
And that's the other thing that we haven't really talked a lot about, that if they did go to the data route and they did give it out for cost, it's going to put this device in a much larger market. You're going to have labs and hospitals with this device that never really dreamed of owning one themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you took a hybrid, right, and you just undercut the competition or sold it for half price from what the competition, you're still going to increase the market tremendously.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's true.
Cool.
Okay. Using a polling tool that allows students to vote, which we're just gonna not do that. We're just gonna say what we vote. If we increase the EBI AT sales and hold everything else back, time to pay back increases, decreases, or remains the same.
I saw that. Go ahead.
This goes to question 2 on the FCF question page, right?
I believe so.
The second option, free cash flow increases per year, but with the first option, free cash flow increases substantially more. So I said the first option, which is to increase the EBA sales.
Yeah.
That's what I got also.
Yeah, because if your sales growth increases and you're not getting, when we increase those sales, it just didn't look good to me. But when you increase the EBIAT just from 5 to 7.5%, you can see a big difference in the overall net there. It was huge.
Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement there.
Mm-hmm. Does anyone vote otherwise?
Voting tool.
Yay.
This is a tool.
Okay. Once everyone has responded, we'll just go on to the next question. Okay. If the NOA sales increases, cash flow increases, decreases, or remains the same.
If NOA sales increases, cash flow, well, I can just plug that in and tell you.
Is it a decrease?
That's decreased.
Yeah, it all went negative on me. I went to 50% and it all went negative.
Yeah.
Is NOA just the cost of operating your equipment and your resources, or not resources, but
Net operating assets, right?
Yeah.
So the higher that is, the more operating costs you have, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, so that would lower your gross margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Significantly, and over time, significantly, it seems.
So we're talking about again, we're on page 2 GenapSys model for NOA/sales and years 1 through 5 and years 6 through 10.
I think there's a question. I think there's a question on the study guide, but it's very similar to the question on the Excel sheet. Because Kelly, didn't you read the question from the study guide or the student study guide on the?
Yeah.
Question.
So it's just below on question 5. It's like the group discussion questions.
Right. And I'm looking at those. So the NOA you're talking about, though, we're trying to, at least I was trying to figure out what it was exactly. So that's net operating assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at estimated growth rates and stuff, is that, so we want our estimated growth rate, let's say it's 20%, it's a higher growth rate, right? So our net operating sales or net operating assets would increase based on the production we hope to have. Am I understanding that correctly or no?
Yeah. So if you increase sales, you would have more net operating assets, but because of that, you have to spend more on those.
Spending more money on it. Okay.
So the trick is then to decrease the percentage of net operating assets to sales, or in other words, make things cheaper.
Hmm.
Is that right?
I believe so.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because like this part, I don't think I'm understanding this part, so I apologize, guys.
No, you're fine.
So the NOA it's NOA divided by sales, right?
Yes. So it
Mhm.
tells us like the return you're getting on sales. So like, if so many things.
So, like, the
net
more-
operating assets
Yeah.
have, how much money are you making on those assets?
Okay.
So it helps you decide. Oh, should
It's a
we
it's a
increase our
ratio
assets or
then.
decrease?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like net return on sales is what it's asking.
Right.
So when I push, like, it shows estimated growth rates, and I say years 1 through 5, and I put 10%, we're talking about how much I expect my market to grow in the next 5 years, essentially.
Yeah. It does seem backwards because we're manipulating a ratio rather than the numbers. Everywhere else, I manipulate to get the ratio return.
But that's a growth rate, though. That's not a.
No.
Yeah, I'm talking about NOA divided by sales. So where it says, I wish I could show you this on my screen. Like, do you have a traditional strategy? You know, because they're selling it for more money, they expect their growth to be like, maybe 10%. As they do razor and razor blades, because it's a lot less expensive, they expect their growth rate to be 60%, and then they do it for basically, real cheap, half that cost. They expect it to be 80%. So essentially, their growth is a lot higher for those periods.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually have a totally different calculation for data analytics after 6 years, which is interesting. So I guess I'm looking at it and I just don't really understand what to do with it.
Yeah,
I don't understand why I've been given authority to modify
me neither.
Because I can just put in whatever I want there, and it's not real necessarily. It's just a number.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I don't know. Does that make any sense, or am I just like totally off here?
No, it makes sense. I just don't know well enough to answer.
Well,
Yeah.
I think this is also like in a previous one, what was the case where it's like, oh, it was the Rent the Runway. Do we just want to double our assets?
Yeah.
And like I said, no. And this is a lot like the same situation. Like, what if sales growth what if you just double your assets and all that kind of stuff? It's not necessarily a good thing for a business to grow too fast.
That's true.
I think this Excel sheet is a great tool to play with. And the more we play with it, the more we're going to understand it.
Mm-hmm. So are we supposed to be using this in future cases?
This Excel sheet?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
It looks like they put a lot of work into something that we're going to use once and not understand it.
I think for most classes, though, that it's in class, you would bring it and have like a discussion for the day about it.
Yeah.
I think you only want to use it if you're trying to calculate cash flow.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Did you guys
Yeah.
watch the video series on it?
Yeah.
Yep.
All of them except for number 4. I had to go give my daughter a bath. So okay, well I'll figure it out. I'll watch the videos again.
Okay. On the curve below, which segment represents the highest burn rate? My picture is not showing up, so I don't really know.
I don't have a picture either.
Me neither.
Does anyone have the picture?
No.
All
Broken
right,
looks
we're just gonna skip over that.
Yep.
I don't know what else I can answer the question. Yeah, so
It errors out, so we can't even see it.
yeah.
Hold on a sec. It might. Some stuff doesn't show up in Firefox, but it does show up in Chrome. So it really just it's weird.
Well, I'm in Chrome and it's not showing up.
Yeah, same.
Well,
I've
anybody have or
tried and I couldn't get us work earlier or now, so
I'll try Explorer. I got an Explorer. Let me see what that does.
I have Chrome and Firefox. And there's X. All right, I just figured it out. We can kind of imagine that this.
yeah, the highest burn rate I would assume is like before you're making money, like putting a lot of into the R&D. But I have no idea what the curve looks like. And there's like 4 different segments. It goes A through F, the A, B, B, C, C, E, F.
Oh, you got Explorer. Let me see what it does here.
Oh my gosh, I think my phone's about to overheat.
I've had that happen.
Quick, get a fan on it.
Yeah.
Take the cover off. Put some ice on it. Just kidding.
Oh yeah, there we go.
My son used to do that with the Xbox.
What?
So Explorer does not show it either. So I think they have a problem with the picture.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
just gonna turn
Thank you
it
for
off
listening.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I even click show picture and it still won't do it. So, yep.
Okay.
We should go through the questions real quick though. So first one is, what strategies have we seen that flatten or lengthen the cash flow curve? So when they say flatten, I'm seeing
We're
like
back.
just look at the razor and the blade. That kind of flattens the cash flow curve.
Yeah.
It kind of bottoms it out for a while. Like they really go through pretty heavy burn. A pretty heavy burn rate when they're doing the razor and the blade until they hit critical mass, really, and then they ramp up. Try to draw the cash flow curves for Dr. John's products, Rent the Runway, and Dropbox as they were described in the cases. Just make a rough guess as to the shapes of each of these cash flow curves. So, Dr. John's, what do you guys think?
I was like, that was forever ago.
Yeah. So.
Oh,
I'm trying to remember, did he have investors in the beginning or?
I would say it looks closer to like the check mark, but he wasn't selling them for expensive either. He was selling them for nothing.
Yeah, but he started selling 6,000 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Very
he did really good.
So it probably looks like that
And-
check mark. Boom.
And everything, I don't know if everything was, but it seemed like most everything was outsourced. You know, it was made over in China, and then it would go directly to his distributors. And I don't think he had a warehouse or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
I don't think he had a lot of operational expenses that way. It didn't seem like he had a huge staff either.
9
I think,
people.
yeah.
Okay, I'm on GenapSys' website. You're never gonna believe what their tagline is.
What?
It's called The Genius, right?
Yeah.
Changing the world one genius at a time.
There you go. Changing the world. It's the moral
How much
perspective.
do they sell it for?
One genius at a time. One little unit at a time. I think that was pretty clever.
How much are they selling it for? I'm just curious.
They probably don't tell you on the website.
Research, forensic, personal. I'm looking this stuff up right now. So sorry, you can go ahead and do your thing. I'm gonna snoop.
All right, let's go to Rent the Runway. I felt like they had a lot of operational expenses. They had a warehouse, they had the dresses, they had 2 dresses per rental. I mean, it seems like to me they were the most inventory intensive.
Yeah, for sure.
of the three. And then Dropbox was more of a their product was digital, and this even the storage space, like all the servers and everything, that was outsourced through Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So as far as the one that had the most in the what's it called? And what?
In a way.
NOA. I'd say that have to be Rent the Runway.
Yeah, for sure. So theirs probably looks more like the kind of the scoop, if you will. So they have a kind of deep, and they have to constantly replenish their inventory. So it's not like it just goes, all of a sudden they have it and it's boom.
Yeah, because fads change, and they're always changing their inventory.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So they have to constantly replenish
Women.
their scenario. But they have a pretty quick turnaround. I mean, because they can run the dress basically, 8 times in a month. Then they can replace them, then they're good with the dress, they've made their money back. So it's like, probably looks more like this, like just going down right at the beginning, and then it just kind of probably comes up and goes.
Yeah, slowly grows. They just have to get a lot more popular, I feel like, for it to really grow.
They're still in business. Did you look them up?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, they're still going strong. Rent the Runway.
Oh yeah, I talked to someone from Rent the Runway today, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I do. So I work with Bank of America customers doing business credit card disputes.
Oh.
So someone had disputed a charge saying that they didn't get the dress or whatever. Rent the Runway, the lady was calling me to basically be like, hey, she told me that, so I checked with our warehouse, tracked it, it's at her hotel. She has it right now. It's there. She just needs to go pick it up from the front desk. I was like, I'll call her and tell her that so she doesn't dispute this charge.
Okay. So I don't think it'll tell me the price unless I set up the register.
Yeah. Figures.
Take one for the team, Connor. Set up and register. We want to know.
Yeah.
Well, the machine for 2 million, or not 2 million, that's the range. You guys all want to pitch in?
How much are they?
Well, it depends on
Well, that's
which.
what we're trying to find out. We don't know how much they're going for unless we know which strategy they're doing. I'm trying to figure out how much it is to deduce what strategy they went with.
All right.
Join the club.
Okay, part B.
Oh.
Describe to each other what would happen to Dr. John's if they had decided to build an independent company rather than get acquired. What activities would John have had to do differently? What impact on the cash flow curve would these activities have? Flatten or steepen, shallow or deepen, increase or decrease time to pay back?
They would have increased it if he kept expanding his operations. I mean, he was at 6,000 a day, so think of what he was trying to, what he had to get to if he was going to keep the company.
Yeah.
And not expand it, which meant more overhead. So
That's the thing, though. His company didn't require overhead because he wasn't storing it, he wasn't building it. He just owned the patent on it and was having someone else manufacture it.
true.
So I don't
But
know.
would it change that?
Based on what I
Would
saw,
he change that philosophy if he was going to expand?
If he would need to get a warehouse at some point so he would be able to ship more mass quantity.
I don't know. I mean, he was making so much money. I mean, he was competitive. He was making so much money, it's not even funny.
The thing I worried about most with that guy, which I don't know if it's going to help us in this case, but it was the competition, because you had the other big boys. They already had electric toothbrushes. I know he had the patent, but it wasn't a new idea as far as concept. I think if he sold, I think that was a good idea because I wouldn't want to have competed with those guys long term.
And that's one of the things I said in my case analysis. Let me read what the teacher wrote back to me. So he said, you had some great thoughts and analysis on this case. I'm going to quibble with one thing.
Oh.
You say that the big companies will just quickly make a copycat of Spinbrush and blow OSHA out of the water with marketing dollars. Business inertia is hard to overcome. The bigger the business, the larger the inertia. Large businesses can't develop innovative products quickly or cheaply. Besides that, the margins on Spinbrush are small and they don't look that attractive to a company that has a big, expensive, high markup product. And then he says, all that to say the deck isn't as stacked against Spinbrush as you seem to think. So, Brad, I agree with you, and I thought that, but he makes some interesting points that make me kind of think about it again. I don't know.
Well, he's the teacher.
After snooping,
I could be wrong. And
can you guys hear me? I'm back on my laptop now. Okay, so after snooping, I found some of the exhibits from another source.
Yes. So what'd you find?
$50. What does that mean? It sounds like for $50. It sounds like they went with strategy 3.
$50 for the cartridge?
It just says GenapSys to sequence genome for $50.
Oh, that's probably the test.
Yeah, that's the cartridge. So they probably did both option 3. Interesting.
All right, so on to C.
Yeah,
Contact.
just the same for Rent the Runway. If the founders of Rent the Runway had been able to convince the dress designers to retain ownership of the dresses, what impact would that have had on Rent the Runway's cash flow curve?
Where is that? Oh, what is it?
Maybe.
That's number 5C.
Yeah, I mean,
because they don't have. Oh, go ahead, Steve.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
Well, they don't have initial cash outlay for assets, but at the end of the day, they don't. I don't know. They just don't have the initial cash outlay, really.
They
So
wouldn't have had to.
That's fine.
They wouldn't have had to buy the dresses. That means they wouldn't have to spend as much.
Right, they'd have a shallower initial curve there because they wouldn't have the cash outlay.
Right.
They also wouldn't have anything with the dresses afterwards, which I don't know how that would actually play out. Because I mean, how much can you sell a dress that's been worn 50 times and, repaired 30? I don't know.
Well, I guess it just depends on how much profit they're making, funds they need.
Yeah.
It would depend on what the designer wanted as far as a cut too, because that would be another thing. Like if I was the designer and I don't even get to sell the dress to you up front. What royalty fee is Rent the Runway paying the designer for each time they rent the dress?
That's true.
But their initial cash outlay might have been a little shallower.
Yeah, because if they buy the dress, then they don't have to owe the owners anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so that upward profit tail or the upward revenue tail can be a little bit steeper.
I think they're better off buying them.
So I think that the NOA costs, the operating costs, would have been a lot less if the designer had kept the dress. But I mean, what's the designer going to do with a dress that's been used, 16, 20 times?
Yeah, not
it's kind
much.
of a silly question.
Well, again, that's where they'd have to incentivize the designer. The designer would just do it way, but they'd have to pay. Like if I was a designer, I'd be like, okay, well, if I'm basically taking the initial risk out here, right? Because that's what they're doing if they don't buy the dress from the designer, they're shifting the risk of the design and the product to the designer. So the designer retains the risk because if that product doesn't rent, the designer doesn't get paid.
Yeah.
So being a designer, if I'm taking the risk, I would want
more money.
Several times the value of the garment for me to take the initial risk.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, good point.
D, what decisions did Drew choose to make in Dropbox that favorably impacted the cash flow curve? Are we talking about during the case study or after?
Yeah, I would assume during.
That's not as fun.
Gosh dang it.
I don't remember, honestly. Does anybody else remember?
I mean, like, I know, like, at first he started, I'm trying to think, like, cash flow. I know he didn't use paid advertising, really, so he saved money that way.
Very true.
But
Oh,
I don't know.
in that vein, same, yeah. He did like more like social media, like viral marketing, because if you got a friend to sign up, you'd get a gig and they'd get a gig.
Yeah, so it was like
I mean-
incentivize people to share it.
Why
Right,
is the
at
Gene
very
so
low cost, like
private?
13 cents or something.
I was just talking to somebody about that today. Referral marketing or word of mouth marketing is the cheapest and best you can get.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that in Rent the Runway also.
Too. Yeah. I don't know what other big things he did though that impacted his cash flow.
Yeah, because the decision was, should he tier his thing into consumer and business class?
Yeah. Which I mean that was
obviously, afterwards he did a portion that definitely impacted their cash flow curve.
I think it was smart that he did have some paid accounts though. He did have a premium like in the beginning too. He had two different, like a paid and a free.
Right.
That's right. And they also developed an API which would allow Dropbox to interface or interact with other vendors, other programs, things like that, which could have also increased the paid subscription rate.
Yeah.
It could increase the what rate?
Paid subscription rate versus the freemium. Yeah.
Right. I just didn't hear it. It didn't come through right. So,
Meaning, like, how much money that they're making and stuff, not on any specific product.
For Dropbox or for
like GenapSys raises 8.5 million. GenapSys raises 37 million to commercialize things and things like that. Here's 4 million.
Well, I mean, they're raising money, so you kind of wonder, because they've already developed the product and everything, so they're raising money probably to continue subsidizing the costs of the actual machines.
Yeah.
At least that's what we in other big companies want, basically access to the data. I'm assuming is what they're really going for.
Cool. Okay, let's move on to E. Okay, so it says now let's look at the choices GenapSys has from a cash flow standpoint. For each business model under consideration, compare the following. Net present value. If some of the options have similar net present values, which is riskier, is it advisable to take additional risk for a similar net present value? Then we'll move on to the two questions. Net.
To support each option? Yeah.
Well, I thought we discussed that
I think so.
Where'd my Excel spreadsheet go?
Like the riskier options versus the safer options.
Yeah, you would, the data part was the riskier option, but it also had a better chance of paying out better too, right? I mean, with some reward. So
Yeah. We can move on to the next one because we did kind of talk about the first one. How will GenapSys raise funds to support each option? Is any option clearly more attractive to investors?
well, I think, like I said, I thought the traditional would be a lot more. I think an investor would look at that and go, "Man, I can get my money back sooner."
Yeah.
The risk isn't as great there, but if you're looking for a quicker turnaround, they may want that. But like you guys have kind of pointed out on the other side, on that data side, it may take a little bit longer, but the reward is so much greater.
It's kind of like those first investors in Disneyland.
Yeah.
The park almost went belly up. It didn't do so well the first few years, and the investors must have not liked that very much. But the ones that stayed in long term, they did pretty well.
Yeah.
They did all right.
Also, what you have to tell me, if I were an investor, also what you have to tell me is if we use this technology for option 3, if we use this technology to solve or to cure any cancers or whatever, guess who has the monopoly on it?
Yeah, it's got a huge
Okay,
potential.
I see some money in that.
There's huge potential, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
How are you guys calculating this one?
I'm just thinking about it.
Well, the best tool we have is the free cash flow model, right?
Yeah.
Because I guess there's like financing implications. I don't know.
Well, like I said, I think on the traditional side, the investment isn't going to be as great as on the data side.
Mm-hmm.
So as an investor, are you going to want to take the quick hit, or are you more of a risk-centered person and you're going to go with the higher risk, which gives you a bigger reward?
See, I'm not a risk taker. Risk on this one.
Well, and that's fine. I'm just saying that's what you have to figure out who your investor is, right?
Right.
Okay, yeah.
That's the thing, though. On something like this, I mean, your investor, it's for something like mapping the human genome and making it basically affordable and accessible to a whole bunch of people. Your investor, I don't think, is necessarily looking for a quick return, because this is basically like cutting edge science based, right?
Right, and a lot of these investors know, like we talked about, you're at a minimum of a 10-year wait. So
Right.
if you're in the long run, you're going to wait 10 years. The model on the data side shows that by year 9, you're going to start getting into a positive cash flow, right?
Right, and then I mean, really, this would be, the investor would have two things going for them. A, they are thinking about the science portion, and like, this is like socially responsible, right? Like, we can possibly do a lot for the human race to cure diseases that we can't currently cure. We can learn a whole bunch of stuff. We can really benefit humanity as a whole by investing in this, right? On the other side of that, because it takes a while, but the return, I mean, if you look at the market cap on the return, I wouldn't even be looking at 9-10 years down the road. Think about like 20-30 years down the road. I mean, if you've mapped out the human genome and you can basically provide solutions to what's wrong with people, and it's not just like what's wrong with people, I guess, as far as like sickness or illness. I mean, you could also,
you're personalizing it more than just, like they said, instead of doing this pill will fix 10% of the people. Well, now they're able to map that and say, well, we know this drug's not going to help you, but this one will, because they know your genetic code and they know what drugs work with what genetic code.
Right.
There's
Even think further down than that. I mean, what about like modifying the human DNA to actually just be more resistant or resilient to diseases? I mean, they do that. I know it's on a simpler scale.
Yeah.
If you look at like,
with your virus.
Right. If you look at like Monsanto, they build an immunity to basically pesticide, so they can spray the whole field with pesticide, and the plants they want to grow will still grow, and the weeds will die.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying there aren't inherent risks and everything, and the human genome is infinitely more complex than that. But again, that's the large swing.
It is infinitely more complex than that, and that's why this amount of data is so valuable, so that you can start putting together. I mean, there are certain genes that have one function, right? And we've identified those. And we can actually even manipulate those with genetic engineering. But most of the things like height and other things about the human body, it's a bunch of genes working together that are a lot more complicated to figure out. And that's where this type of data and analysis can really come in handy. They're figuring out more and more things all the time. But it's pretty complex.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Should we move on to F?
Yes, F.
Yeah.
It's getting late.
Okay, so is this like our
hour and a
summary
half
too?
discussion.
Oh yeah, and I still got a quiz I got to take by 11. So.
Okay.
And is this our summary too?
Yeah, let's
Yeah, I think
just,
this is
because
pretty much
this
our
is like
summary.
decide as a group which you will choose. So we'll just start the summary and then that'll be it.
Okay,
Well, I
summary
think
starting
we've
now.
already gone on the data side, and I think you've talked Jason and myself onto that as well. So.
Yeah, I
I
just
think-
think it has more potential. If you look at it in the long run, it just makes more sense because they're gathering data regardless.
So strategy 3.
Yep, I think as a group we all decide that is the best way to go. The risk is higher, but the payoff is greater.
I still like
Yes.
grads. Not necessarily with the traditional, but maybe something high.
Kind of a modified.
Right.
Something cutthroat.
Start out a little higher, ramp down.
Right, but that wasn't one of our options, though, right? We had to pick one of the three.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Whatever. Great. Fine.
All right. Is there anything else that you guys want to say about the case for our summary?
Nope. Good talk.
Uh,
Good discussion.
Nice to meet you guys. I don't know what the future of my other group is with me, but if it's not going to work out, I'm definitely going to request to meet with you guys again.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, love to have you.
Thank you, Steve.
All right. Is that it?
Good?
Yeah,
All right.
and I'll send out the link.
Okay.
Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah, high five.
Mhm.
We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.